Good morning, people. Thanks for sticking around on the channel. It's been a couple of weeks since I popped up a video here. The reason is that we've decided to move back to the UK. But I managed to get a bit of free time today to go out for a quick ride. So I'm taking out the V Strom 650 XT. It's the 2019 model. And I bought this only 2.5 months ago now. And I'm going to today go through the essential things you need to know on this bike if you're thinking of buying it. And this is going to apply for the 2020 model as well, because it's basically the same thing. The only real updates on the 2020 are going to be the color scheme. So if you're thinking of buying a V Strom 650 or 650 XT in 2020, then stay tuned, because I'm going to walk you through a few of the little things that I've noticed about the bike, little things that, you know, perhaps are not perfect, and also what's great about the bike. So first up, number one, it's the engine. Now it's obviously it's a 650cc-ish V-twin engine, and that gives you lots of nice low down torque. I'm in 4th gear now, and I'm only doing like 40 kilometers an hour, and there's no real sort of chugging along that you quite often get with V-twins. And part of that is because you've got the Suzuki low RPM assist, which just adds a couple of hundred revs to the RPM, just to sort of smooth things out. So the engine is its strong point, but it's also something you may want to consider as potentially a weak point. So it's got a nice amount of torque to sort of accelerate. You don't have to switch the gears too much, but the only issue is that it's not going to thrill you either. It's the torque is very linear, and the power is very linear all through the rev range. And while that's a great thing for sort of overtaking and comfortable riding, you're not really going to get any surge through the rev range. So I do miss that a little bit from sort of more sporty engines and more sporty bikes, that you don't sort of get that rush. But there is plenty of torque, and it's very usable. So I'd say the engine overall is excellent. It's a strong point of the bike. But if you're looking for thrills, you might want to sort of look elsewhere, perhaps something with a little bit more power, or perhaps a parallel twin. Something like the Versys 650 might give you a little bit more of a rush and more of an obvious power band to play with. The next thing I'd mention really is the pegs. The pegs are rubber. You can get accessory pegs that have serrated metal edges so that you can stand up on them a little bit better. And while they're comfortable, and they're nice and wide, so your foot fits on them nicely, the position of them when you're riding is pretty nice. Your legs are just tucked back very slightly, at least mine are, but obviously you can slightly change your position on the way that you sit. But when you put your feet down, they are exactly where I want to plant my feet. And so if you're sort of vertically challenged, I'm 6 foot, and I find that when I'm maneuvering the bike, often I'm on a very slippy surface where I live at the moment, and so I have to reverse the bike out of my garage on a slippy surface, and I want both feet down. I can plant both feet down, but I have to splay my legs out a little bit wider to get around the pegs, because the pegs are just in a slightly awkward position. They're exactly where I want to put my feet on the ground. So if you are not quite as tall as me, or your inside leg's not quite as long as me, I'm 6 foot and 34-inch inside leg, you may just find it slightly awkward when you're coming to a standstill. The pegs do kind of get in the way of the natural position where my foot wants to rest. The next thing on the bike, and don't get me wrong, I love this bike. It's great. It's a perfect bike for here. It will do anything. It's great for sort of touring, commuting. You can take it a little bit off-road. I haven't really done too much of that here, to be honest, but you know, gravel tracks, stuff like that's not a problem. The third thing, let me just get my visor up a minute. The third thing about the bike is it has well, it says 3 modes of traction control, I think. Obviously one mode is off though, so that's a bit cheeky, you cheeky boys. But so it's got 2 modes of traction control. I'm in TC1 now, and that is, as Suzuki say, meant for sport riding, so minimal interference. I've never actually activated the traction control in mode 1. I have seen the traction control light come on when I've been in mode 2. It's great that we got it, but you can't adjust it on the fly. So we'll press select to go into the traction control now, and it's highlighted on the screen if you can see that. And I'm going to try and switch it, and it won't let me switch it whilst we're on the fly. So we've got to come to a stop before you can switch it over to traction control 2, or, you know, if you want to switch modes, you've got to stop the bike before you can actually switch it. And to be honest, that does make me change settings a lot less. So I might come onto some gravel, but I'll just leave it in traction control 1 because I don't feel like stopping and changing it. I know it's a minor point, but it's just something to be aware of. But here's the torque again. Woo! But even though there's plenty of torque, it still doesn't quite give me that rush of something like a parallel twin, or obviously an inline 4, or something with a more of an obvious power band. It is linear pretty much all the way through. The handling on it is superb though. It's very neutral handling. The position's nice, the seating position. The actual seat itself is nice and narrow at the front, but you can get plenty of grip on the tank. And the bars are nice and wide, so you feel like you can have plenty of control just to flick it around how you want. Bit of counter steering if you want, and it is very confidence inspiring, the actual ride, and the positioning, the ergonomics are very confidence inspiring for riding a little bit faster. But the engine is not gonna, you know, it's not seat of your pants. I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. Don't necessarily expect that on a 650 V twin, but it's just something to be aware of. But there's lots of usable power. It's not a thrill machine, you know. It's a kind of sensible machine. Another thing to note is that the brakes themselves are perfectly adequate, and I'll show you in a minute. They are adequate, but they're not bitingly sharp. And again, you know, you wouldn't necessarily expect, you know, Brembo M50 style brakes on a bike like this. But once you have a pillion and you load the bike up with luggage, then I wouldn't mind just a little bit more bite on the front brake. But again, perfectly usable, perfectly adequate for, you know, pretty much all situations you're going to be using this bike in. But it's just something, again, you know, to note. So the next thing I'd say that you want to be aware of as well is, obviously you've got the 650 and you've got the 650 XT. Now the model that I bought was the 650 XT just because I'm in the Philippines and getting hold of extra parts is not that easy here. So yeah, I've got to really grab a handful there to sort of get some real bite on the brakes. But yeah, sorry, so back to this. You've got the 650 and the 650 XT. At the moment in the UK, the prices I think are about £400 or £500 apart between the two models. And what do you get on the XT? So the XT, you're gonna get wire spoke wheels. So that's the main difference. You're also getting these hand guards, but they're only plastic. They're not really going to do anything if you take a tumble, if you're taking it on sort of dirt tracks or something like that, a little bit off-road, you know, fire roads, I think they call them in the States. So they're more for sort of wind protection, weather protection, than for any sort of physical protection if you have a drop. And also you have this plastic undercowling, and it does keep the sort of the area around the headers and the oil filter and all that area clean, but it's not going to offer you any protection it's going to offer you very little protection if you're taking it off-road. It'll keep the smaller stones from coming up and chipping bits, but it's more just for, you know, looks and a bit of protection to keep it cleaner, really. So you may decide, and that's probably what I do and what I did with my older models is you buy the base model, and that does come with cast wheels rather than spoke wheels. That's the main difference. But you might consider that perhaps just adding an aluminium bash plate and some bark buster handguards, that might be a better way to spend your money if you're seriously considering taking one of these 650s a little bit more off the beaten track and off-road. So I'm just going to ride it a little bit and just, you know, there you're up and there's nothing, there's no difference. I've gone all the way through from 4,000 to 9,000 RPM. The red line is just over 10,000, what, 10,200 by the looks of it. And the acceleration on it is smooth. It's just linear. I don't hit a power band at all. We'll do it again now, look, 5, 6. And again, it's smooth, linear power. There's the brakes. It's nice. It's a nice engine. Don't get me wrong. It's a fun bike to ride in a sense, but it doesn't excite me. It doesn't make me think, whoa, Jesus, woo! You know, I'm not going crazy on it. It's a great all-round bike, and I know that's what you buy it for. So you know, if you're gonna say to me, well, why have you bought a V Strom 650 XT if if you were after thrills? And yep, fair point, but it's just something to note on the engine. It's really linear, which is really, I mean, it's perfect for what this is designed for. And the torque comes on from, well, let's have a look. We'll go in a minute and I'll tell you where the torque really sort of comes on from. So we're in fourth. I'm doing 50 kilometers an hour, 51. And we're down to sort of just under 3,000. Let's do a chug test on it. Once I get past this bus. My God. Okay, so we're at 4,000. The power comes on pretty much instantaneously, even from sort of 2,800 RPM. That's great. So you've got plenty of torque down low. You're not having to flick through the gears to sort of rev it too much. Another thing to note if you're going to buy this is if you're carrying a pillion. My wife's only 37 kilograms, so it kind of doesn't apply to me. I don't even notice she's on the back of the bike. But if you're carrying a pillion, then and a load of luggage, so you got the full system on the back, boxes and panniers and stuff, then the brakes are affected very slightly. So you could do with a little bit more bite, and you're going to have to rev the bike a little bit more, just to sort of get the acceleration out of it. So it's just something to be aware of if you're going to do two-up touring in the West, in UK, Europe, America, something like that. Then two-up touring will strain the motor a little bit more, but don't get me wrong, it is perfectly capable of it. I can remember I did two-up touring in France and Italy and that on a V Strom, an older V Strom, 2009 it was, a Grand Tourer. And I had two up. My pillion wasn't 37 kilograms. She was more than that. She was standard Western weight, and I could still pull off from the the toll booths on the auto route in France, and I could still get up to speed pretty quickly. But I was thrashing the engine. I was revving it pretty hard. So obviously you're going to get more torque if you go up to the 1,000. And stay tuned, because I have just ordered a new V Strom 1050 XT in the UK. I've put in an order for that at a very, very helpful dealers in the UK, Wheels, in Peterborough. So thanks to Neil at Wheels in Peterborough, he's been so helpful. So I will be able to test the difference between having this model and the new 1050 XT. So it might be worth you staying tuned, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if these little points have been useful for you. And obviously if you subscribe and hit the notifications bell down below, then I'll be reviewing and riding the 1050 XT around Europe next year. I've pre-ordered that in the UK. I'll also, touch wood, be picking up a 2019 or 2020 Kawasaki ZX6R. So again, stay tuned for that. I've decided to go for 1000cc Tourer because I'd like to go touring around Europe next year. And I've picked up a ZX6R. I've also booked myself into a couple of track days next year at Ron Haslam Race School, Donington Park. So that will be awesome fun. Another thing to note on the this V Strom is it is still not a toolless screen. And I know that's something they've updated on the 1050 XT model this coming next year, 2020. That they are going to have toolless screen, which is excellent. But this one's not. I've got it in the middle position at the moment. again, don't get me wrong, it's a fun bike. Standing up on it as I am now, very comfortable. The tank position, I would just say it's just a little bit forward for your knees, but it's, again, you can get plenty of grip on it. It's comfortable. I feel very secure standing up on it, so if you're just going to take it off onto sort of gravel tracks and roads and stuff like that, or the bad roads that we get here in the Philippines, then yeah, you're going to be comfortable. The weight of the bike, once you're moving, it really doesn't feel heavy. It comes in at 216 kilograms, but again, I wouldn't want to be doing any serious off-roading on this. The ground clearance is only 160 millimeters, and obviously if you're going to take it off-road, it's perfectly capable. I know thousands of people take them off-road, but there are better choices. But if you're going to do like me, 90%, 95% on-road, and the remainder perhaps on some gravel tracks and loose dirt roads and stuff like that, then it's more than capable. You can't turn the ABS off. You're going to have to pull the fuse on it if you want to turn the ABS off for off-road. And the traction control can go off, which is great, so you can spin up the back wheel if you want to. One thing I've noticed, if you think this bike's 8 weeks old, I've noticed, look, some corrosion coming on here on the bar end and on the, I don't know what that is, little block off plate for the handguards. There's just a little bit of corrosion coming on there. Now I know that I do quite often ride with my hands in a wide position, so hanging off the edge. It may just be me rubbing the bars too much, but it's I've not experienced that on a bike that's only 8 weeks, 9 weeks old before. My Ninja has it as well, my Ninja 400, but that's 18 months old, so I can understand that a little bit more. It probably is down to me. What do you guys think? That's probably down to me with my hand position. I like to hold the bars wide. I feel like I have better control, so it may just be that. But yeah, again, I'm not hugely impressed by that. But then bar end, you know, it's not an expensive part to replace, is it? The Suzuki, I like the switch gear as well on this. It's just simple, plain. You haven't got anything, you know, too crazy. But I am looking forward to getting a TFT screen on the 1050 XT. That is going to be nice to use. It will actually be the first bike I've rode with a TFT on it. But this screen is fine. It gives you all the information you need. It's got a nice big analog tacho, and it gives you all the information you need, you know, MPG, range, and also it gives you your battery voltage. It is nice to have the battery 12 volt there. So yeah, I'm just gonna go a little bit now and see. But look, again, it's very linear. It's not I'm up to 150. One thing with this bike is, in fact, I'll let you know now. We'll just get up to sort of, what do we cruise at in the UK? About 120. 6th gear, 120. And we're looking at 5.5, 6,000 revs on the RPM. So it could cruise like this all day. The screen as well, in terms of protection, it does offer good protection. I'm getting pretty clean air all around my shoulders here. And there's no buffeting. I did notice on my old, I picked up when I was, sorry about the audio, but I just got to get a fly out my eye. Little bugger. Yeah, I picked up a 2009 V Strom 650 when I was back in the UK over the summer, just to ride around over summer. Sold it again, by the way, but because I was leaving for the Philippines again. But yeah, I noticed on that bike, on any screen setting, the screen was not that great at providing clean air for you. I was getting a heck of a lot of turbulence on my helmet, but with this one, the screen is definitely a lot better. The air is pretty clean, and I'm not getting buffeting. I'm getting some wind resistance just on the top of my helmet, around about my visor, halfway up my visor level, but it's pretty smooth. No complaints at all, to be honest, with the screen on it. And this is not on the highest position either at the moment. I could level up a little bit on that. By the way, guys, just I've been very busy here in the Philippines, but in my downtime I just found a new bike channel, and I know, like, oh yeah, YouTube, we're supposed to be asking you to subscribe to us and stuff. And yeah, guys, subscribe to me, because when I get to the UK in February, I'm gonna level up in terms of how many videos I'm putting out, and also the test rides and stuff. I'm speaking to dealers to try and get some test rides, and obviously buying some new bikes for you guys, so I'll have a lot more content to come. But this new channel I found is awesome. It's like the Top Gear of bikes, except it's better, it's more funny. The guys are awesome. There's a, look at that crap on the road. There's a guy called Chris and a guy called Al, and Al is an ex-racer, and Chris is just a don't know what Chris is. He used to have another YouTube channel called Baron Von Grumble. So the channel is called 44 Teeth, and it's like a great mix of really good information and also having a laugh and a joke about. I love it. I literally have been binge watching it every night before I go to bed. On the off chance that one of those guys from 44 Teeth see my channel, I doubt it because I'm tiny at the moment, but oh man, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's literally keeping me sane whilst I'm waiting to go back to the UK here. So 44 Teeth, check out that channel. It's a, well, in the UK we say it's a pisser. It's just good fun. They do all sorts of stuff. They're reviewing the latest and greatest sports bikes, but they're also messing around, buying used old bikes that are absolutely knackered, and trying to take them on trips throughout Europe and stuff. Al's had a number of catastrophes on like an old GSXR 1000, I think it was, or a 750. And Chris, I got a man crush on Chris. He's just making me laugh all the time. He's so camp, but he's funny ass. So check that one out. And yeah, that's a great channel. Try and support that channel as well. You know, support my channel as well, but support that channel because I really want them to keep creating videos because they are entertaining. Don't forget, I got the Christmas competition for the Alpine Stars jacket, gloves and Evo helmet. I'm going to announce that on the 24th of this month, so someone's going to have a very nice Christmas. And then yeah, there'll be another competition up and running pretty soon after that as well. Oh, check me out, no hands. I don't know where I'm going here, I'm just riding. That's what happens with the V Strom, is you just end up doing miles and miles and miles. I mean, I'm just going to pull in because I just realised I didn't do my chin strap up, not concentrating. And also it's going to piss it down with rain now. So I know there's a... I'm sorry, I've forgotten your Gmail name or whatever it is, but there's a British guy in Argyle, near to me. It's just across the mountains from where I live, and he said to me when he found out that I was going to move back to the UK, he said, oh, well, keep the vlogs going because it's going to be interesting to see you vlogging in the rain again on some British A roads, and it'll be an interesting difference. But look, this is, apart from the heat, this is pretty UK like right now. It's not that much different. I got a load of waterproof gear as well that I bought from Team Graffiti. I'm going to take that back with me. All my gear that was for sale now is all sold. I'm keeping a few items like the HJCR for 70 and some various other bits and bobs. Oh, and I also switched up and just started wearing these new Alpine Stars SMX 1 Air V2 gloves that I was selling, but then I decided I want them, so I kept them. But yeah, so you're not going to find much difference. I'll just show you here. Look, right now I want my feet to be in here. Can you see that? When we're stopping, I'm flat-footed, so luckily for me I got loads of leg room, but for guys who are a little bit shorter on the inside leg, the position here of the footrest is just slightly annoying. I'd like it, if you go behind, then you can't straighten your leg, so you can't get your foot down totally flat. Well, I can, but only just. And I tend to go out wide here because I don't want my feet in here because I feel a bit trapped in with the gear shift and the footrest. So it's just something, what I was saying before about just to be aware of. My God, my visor's steamed up. I need the fog insert thing. And the rain's coming now, so I'm going to head back home. Right, guys, I hope these little points of just, you know, things I've picked up whilst I've been riding the bike, just make you aware of, you know, what you need to consider when you're buying the V Strom. Overall, it is a great bike, and if you don't want to go up to the 1000cc, which is heavier and taller and all that sort of stuff, then yeah, this will do 2-up touring, and just those little points that I made as well, just things to be aware of. Overall, I would recommend this bike. This is actually the 3rd V Strom 650 I've owned. That pretty much says it all. They're great bikes, do anything bikes. This one's got a little bit more sort of electronics going on, but doesn't really make a huge difference. And yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. Tour Europe on one of these. I would tour Europe on this again, no problem. And I'd go 2-up with full luggage on again. I'm going up to 1000 because, well, the reason I'm going up to 1000 is because I want to, because I'm treating myself. But if I was tight on budget, I would have no problem buying a V Strom 650 and speccing it up a little bit, or a V Strom XT and just having it as it is and touring Europe if you're mainly going to do roads and stuff.